such a sight as this and joined my children on the floor for a time of happiness and joy. Just then, Nettie calls them to supper. So they go in, say grace, sit down and have a wonderful meal. And at the end of the meal, the house guest says to Nettie, Nettie, you are such a wonderful cook. I can't remember the last time that I had a meal this good. It's truly been a blessing to me to sit at your table. Fred's sitting over there, and Fred's thinking to himself, wonder when the last time it was that I told Nettie how much I appreciated her cooking a meal for me and the family. When was the last time that I really said to her how much I enjoyed her cooking? Well, the house guest gets up and he says, it was such a great meal. He says, I've got to walk this off. I've got to take a walk. Anybody want to walk with me? And Nettie said, well, I can't. I've got to clean up the dishes and get the children ready for bed. Fred says, well, why don't you just go ahead? I'm going to read the paper for a while. So the house guest goes out the front door and down the street. Comes back a little bit later on. He says to Fred, Fred, you live in an unbelievable neighborhood. I mean, these people are so friendly and so nice. Had a conversation with this guy and this guy and this guy. And that young couple that just moved in next door, that Korean couple, man, that guy is really sharp. And what a beautiful spirit she is. And Fred looked at his house guest and said, yeah, I heard that a Korean couple moved into the neighborhood. Wow. When was the last time you saw your neighbors in the light of speaking with them? Jesus was sitting in the courtyard of the temple on steps with his disciples across from the treasury. And the way the story goes, the rich people were coming into the temple grounds and they were going over not quietly, but just strolling over in their long robes with their bags of money and making a good deal of noise while they were pouring the coins into the trumpets that slid down into the treasury. They'd often meet up with friends, and there was just a lot of conversation and a big show going on there in the temple grounds. And Jesus sees a widow walk over to one of the trumpets, and she puts one coin in. It doesn't make much of a sound. Jesus says to his disciples, did you see this woman? What woman are you talking about, Jesus? The woman that just gave all that she had. No, Master, we missed that one. Kind of makes me wonder how many times I missed seeing things like that in my life. Remember the parable in Matthew 25, the great judgment? All the nations of the world are sitting around the judgment seat. It's the judge that says to all the people of the nations of the world, all the leadership, inasmuch as you have done it for the least of these, you have done it also for me. And do you remember the response of the people? When did we see you, Lord? Professor goes into a classroom one day, got a makeshift dartboard under his arm, walks over and he puts it on an easel, and he gets a bullseye out of his briefcase and he tacks that up on the dartboard and puts 3 darts up in the corner. He says, we're going to start class a little differently this morning. You as seminarians, I know that you haven't had perfect life, so I'm going to give you the opportunity, to try to get some things out of your system. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about someone who has crossed paths with you, who has done you wrong. You might even hate them. But I want you to draw a picture of that individual, and then I want you to take the darts, and I want you to put the picture right on the bullseye, and I want you to have at it. The first person that put a picture up was a female seminarian. She kind of drew a makeshift picture of an old girlfriend that she had. This girlfriend, she told the class, stole her first boyfriend, her first love. And she took the darts, and instead of throwing them, she just took the darts and just started stabbing that picture that was over the bullseye. Next seminarian gets up, it's a guy, and he says, you know, I gave a loan to who I thought was a friend a long time ago, and it was a considerable amount of money. He's never paid me back. And he took the darts, he stood back, and he just started putting them right between the eyes. I mean, he just right in the face. And it goes on a little bit. One of the seminarians drew a picture of the professor, put it right on the bullseye, and then made the explanation that he put the picture up there of the professor because the professor had just handed back one of his papers on which he got a D. And the class starts laughing and everything as he takes the dart and just starts embedding them right in the professor's face, right there on the bullseye. Goes on for a while, and finally the professor cuts things off, and he goes over and he removes all of the individual pictures that they had made. He removes the bullseye, and it's revealed there a picture of Jesus, punctured, torn, and tattered. Kind of makes me wonder, when was the last time that I viewed an individual that wronged me? When did I seek the face of Christ in that person? The gift of sight. It's a precious gift. If only we had eyes to see.